When a senior developer pushed all his work on me and told our boss, she said she loves extra tasks. I documented every bug he ignored and forwarded it as a formal feature report to the whole engineering list. His GitHub was suspended the same day. I joined the engineering team at a mid-sized SaaS company in Austin about 2 years ago. I wasn't a junior, but I was definitely still learning the ropes of enterprise-level architecture. My title was software developer too. Not exactly low, not exactly senior. My team was small. Just me, a DevOps guy named Taylor, and 2 senior engineers, Marcus and Edwin. Our team lead, Alex, sat in Seattle and handled 2 other dev pods, so we rarely saw him except for Friday stand-ups. Marcus had been there for 6 years. He built a lot of our codebase and had this reputation for being untouchable. People said he was brilliant, so his quirks were ignored. But honestly, he was lazy. He spent most of his day on code reviews, which meant he'd look at a PR, make a vague comment like, "Let's clean this up later," then approve it without testing. And somehow, everything he was supposed to do got pushed to someone else. Usually me. At first, I didn't mind picking up extra work. I figured it'd help me grow. But after 6 months, I realized something: Marcus never did his tickets. He'd assign them to himself, mark them in progress, then quietly reassign them to me in Jira. Sometimes, I wouldn't even notice until I got a Slack message from QA asking why I hadn't finished something that wasn't even mine to begin with. When I brought it up in our 1:1 with Alex, I was met with, "Well, Marcus told me you volunteered." He said, and I quote, "She said she loves extra tasks." That made my stomach turn. I never said that. I said I didn't mind helping. There's a big difference. Worse, Marcus was telling the other engineers I liked taking over stuff. I found out because Edwin accidentally left our team chat open on a shared Zoom, and I saw a message from Marcus that said, "She wants to prove herself or whatever. Let her drown in it." That was the moment I decided I wasn't going to just sit there and take it anymore. Marcus built one of the most used modules in our application, a pipeline that handled file ingestion for our enterprise clients. Every time a file was uploaded, it went through Marcus's pipeline before hitting our database. The issue? It was full of edge case bugs. Marcus had closed at least 24 Jira tickets over the past year related to that pipeline. Each one marked resolved. But QA kept opening duplicates. Same bugs, different users. He'd silence the noise by saying things like client error or not reproducible. When I asked to sit in on his debugging process once, he said, "You should focus on learning how to handle your own workload first." Fine. So I started keeping notes. Quietly. Every time a user reported a bug tied to his pipeline, I logged it. I spun up my own testing environment, mocked enterprise client behavior, and replicated all of the bugs he claimed were one-offs. There were at least 17 that I reproduced in detail. But I didn't just stop there. I documented why the bugs happened. Faulty assumptions in his parsing logic, lazy error handling, and reliance on outdated libraries. He'd never written proper unit tests. One function had a try/catch block, so brought it caught syntax error and just logged unexpected behavior. That's it. After a month of this, I packaged it all into a well-written, calm, professional Confluence page. I titled it, "Proposed Enhancements for File Ingestion Module, Identified Functional Gaps." I listed each bug with steps to reproduce screenshot of error root cause suggested fix impact on user. Then I linked every single one of those to the corresponding resolved Jira tickets Marcus had closed. Once the report was airtight, I wrote an email and CC'd the entire engineering group, over 50 people. Subject: Police Scarlight Observations from Feature Testing, Ingestion Module Enhancements Proposal Body. Hi all, over the past 5 weeks, I've been gathering data on recurring ingestion issues that several clients reported. While these bugs have been marked resolved in the past, QA and client support continue to flag them. After reproducing each issue, I've compiled a proposed list of enhancements with full steps, root causes, and test coverage gaps. Link: Confluence page. Please note that this isn't a critique, but a collaborative effort to stabilize our ingestion workflow for Q4 scaling. Open to feedback. Sierra, yes. I signed my name. Within 15 minutes, the Slack engineering channel blew up. People started jumping into the Confluence page. A few thanked me publicly. One guy from the security team messaged me privately saying, "Holy hell, you documented everything. This is gold." Then the CTO replied to the email thread and said, "Flagged. This needs immediate escalation. Why wasn't this surfaced earlier?" Guess who didn't respond? Marcus. Instead, he sent me a private Slack message. Marcus, did you just try to throw me under the bus? Me. You've been ignoring these bugs for over a year. I just made them visible. Marcus, you and I are going to have a serious conversation. Me. Feel free to schedule it with Alex. Happy to walk through the documentation line by line. By that afternoon, Alex scheduled a meeting with just me and HR. I thought I was getting fired. Instead, they asked me if I wanted to formally transition into an SDT role, test engineering, since my documentation was the most thorough audit they'd seen from inside the team. I said no. I wanted to stay a developer. I didn't do this to be a snitch. I did it because I was tired of doing two people's jobs. Meanwhile, Marcus didn't show up to stand up for 3 days straight. On Friday, someone noticed his GitHub account had gone dark. When I checked one of his open PRs, it showed, error, user account suspended. By Monday, we got the news. Marcus was on administrative leave pending internal review. That was HR speak for legal is involved. Turns out he hadn't just ignored bugs. He had also committed code from an open-source repo under our company's license without attribution. That alone was a violation serious enough to risk litigation. But the worst part? He had blamed a contractor for the copy/paste job in a commit note, and Git logs proved otherwise. A few weeks passed. Marcus was gone. His desk was cleared. No one ever confirmed whether he was fired or if he quit before they could finish the investigation. But people whispered that legal sent him a cease and desist after they got a takedown notice from a software foundation. Alex called me personally and thanked me. He said the documentation I created would be used as a template for all internal audits moving forward. Cool. But you know what wasn't cool? 2 weeks after Marcus left, I got an email from someone named Leslie, Marcus's wife. She found my work email somehow and wrote, "You're the reason my husband had a breakdown. I hope you're happy." I didn't respond, but I archived it. Because the truth is, this wasn't personal. It was survival. And it's not over yet. After I got that email from Marcus's wife, things started to feel different. Not at work. Work was fine. Actually better than fine. I was finally treated like a real part of the team. But outside of work, that's where things got weird. The first thing was my LinkedIn. Someone started leaving strange comments on my posts. Stuff like, "Funny how you take credit for other people's work. Do your coworkers know what you did to him? You'll burn out just like you burned him." I blocked the account. It had no profile picture and a fake name. Then another account popped up. Same thing. I locked my LinkedIn profile. Then I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. "You think you're so smart, huh? All you did was make enemies. You'll regret this. Soon." I saved the voicemail. Then I filed a report with HR and told them I thought Marcus, or someone close to him, was harassing me. They took it seriously, said they'd investigate, but I could tell they didn't know what to do unless it was coming from inside the company. I considered going to the police, but what would I say? My old coworkers possibly stalking me online? I had no proof it was him. Not yet. Then one day, someone ordered food to my apartment. $87 of Thai food. Delivery guy asked for Steve. I live alone. No one named Steve lives here. It wasn't a prank. My phone number and address were on the receipt. That was the final straw. I filed a police report. Gave them everything: emails, LinkedIn messages, voicemails, the delivery order. They said they'd open a file but warned me that tracking harassment across platforms was tricky unless it escalated. Meanwhile, I kept my head down at work. But then came the twist I didn't expect. A month after Marcus's GitHub suspension, I got pulled into a confidential meeting with our security lead, Paul. He had that tight, careful way of talking that made me nervous. "Sierra, I need to ask if you ever shared access to your work laptop or credentials with Marcus." "No, never." He nodded, didn't look surprised. Then he opened a laptop and spun it toward me. It was a screen recording. Internal surveillance from our GitHub Enterprise account. Paul hit play. The screen showed Marcus's account. Then it showed his account accessing one of our beta client branches. A branch only 2 people had access to, me and the lead developer from another team. The commits? They weren't his. They were mine. My username. My credentials. I stared at the screen. "How?" Paul looked me straight in the eye. "We believe Marcus cloned your credentials using an older debugging tool we deprecated last year. The same one you used during your onboarding. We found logs showing remote access scripts tied to your IP address, but during times when you weren't logged in." My heart dropped. "Are you saying he pretended to be me?" "Yes. For months. Apparently, Marcus had used my temporary debugging permissions to access client beta data, make commits, and cover his own gaps. That's how his modules got pushed through QA so fast. If something broke, he blamed junior devs or said QA messed up. But the code pushing it all through? Tagged with my name. That's when I realized how deep this went. Marcus wasn't just lazy. He was dangerous. Paul told me this changed everything. They were turning the internal investigation into a formal legal case. Not just for IP fraud, but potential identity misuse, client data access, and impersonation. HR put me on protective admin leave while they cleaned up the mess. I didn't ask for any of this. But suddenly I was in the center of it. While I was on leave, HR called me 3 times. Not to check in on my safety, but to ask about my involvement in the impersonation. At first, I thought they were just being thorough. Then it hit me, someone was trying to spin the story. They were testing me, trying to see if they could find a reason to blame me too. And I had a pretty good guess who was feeding them that idea. Marcus may have been out of the company, but he wasn't done playing games. One of the HR reps even said, "We just want to understand why the audit report came from you right after those impersonated commits. It's suspicious timing." I felt sick. I was being turned into a suspect in a mess I uncovered. I called my own lawyer that night. Her name was Danielle. Sharp. Calm. No nonsense. She read everything, emails, reports, Slack messages, and said something I'll never forget. "Sierra, you don't just have a retaliation case. You have a negligence case. And if they so much as try to pin this on you, we bury them." I didn't want to sue. I just wanted this nightmare to stop. But Danielle said something else. "You're not just dealing with a toxic coworker. You're dealing with a company that let him in, protected him, and now doesn't know how to get out clean." She was right. And when I found out why they were nervous, it all made sense. It turns out, Marcus wasn't just a senior developer. He was also Alex's cousin. Not brother. Not nephew. Cousin. They never disclosed it. And that's why Marcus had gotten away with so much for so long. That's why Alex kept defending him. That's why complaints about his behavior were brushed off. This wasn't just a story about a lazy dev. It was a story about nepotism, fraud, and a company covering its own ass. Danielle was thrilled. They just handed us motive on a silver platter. I wasn't thrilled. I was exhausted. I had panic attacks at night. Stopped sleeping. I triple-locked my doors. I installed security cameras. I stopped answering unknown numbers. And still, the fake accounts kept coming. Until one day they stopped. Because someone else stepped in. And that changed everything. It had been almost 3 months since Marcus got kicked off the project. 2 months since I went on administrative leave. A month since I lawyered up. And still, every few days, something weird would happen. Another fake message. Another blocked number. Another person trying to make me doubt myself. Then one morning, I got a LinkedIn message from someone named Chloe Donovan. I didn't recognize the name at first. Her profile said she was a senior engineer at a fintech company in Denver. I almost ignored it until I saw her note. "Hey Sierra, I hope you don't mind me reaching out. I used to work with Marcus. I have some information you probably need." I sat frozen for a second. We jumped on a call that night. Chloe didn't waste time. "I worked with Marcus 3 years ago. He was on my team for about 9 months. He got fired. Quietly. The official reason was a security policy violation. But what really happened? He cloned one of our junior devs' code and tried to push it as his own." I stared at the screen. Chloe leaned in and said, "That junior dev was me." She explained how he'd bullied her, made her feel small, then waited until she took medical leave to try and publish her work under his name. She found out through Git logs, just like I had. But back then, she didn't have a lawyer. Or support. So when HR pushed her out quietly and Marcus walked away with a glowing reference, she just left. Until she saw my story. Apparently, one of my coworkers had shared my Confluence report publicly on GitHub, by accident, during a tool migration. The URL had no client data, just the bug report. But Chloe recognized the patterns. The writing style. The code markers. It was like déjà vu, she said. He used the exact same wording to dodge responsibility. Same excuses. Same commit styles. Then she said the one thing that tied it all together. Marcus doesn't make mistakes. He builds traps. He wants other people to clean up his messes, because that gives him leverage. If you break, he wins. If you expose him, he plays victim. And it worked. Over and over. I asked if she'd be willing to talk to my lawyer. She said yes. Then she sent me an email, a full write-up of what he'd done to her. Signed and notarized. She told me she'd been waiting 3 years to send it to someone who'd actually use it. And I would. I gave Chloe's statement to Danielle. The next day, Danielle filed an official retaliation complaint with my company. She included Chloe's report, all the LinkedIn harassment, the voicemail threat, the GitHub logs, a formal request for Marcus's hiring file, including reference checks and internal complaint history that lit a fire under someone. Because a week later, I got a call from the head of HR, not the rep I'd dealt with before. A different person. Higher up. Much more careful with their words. Sierra, we've reviewed the findings and want to make something clear. You were never under investigation. We deeply regret if any of our prior conversations caused stress or confusion. I didn't say anything. She kept talking. We're taking steps to ensure this never happens again. And we'd like to offer you your position back, along with a formal apology from leadership. I let that hang in the air. Then I said, no, I'm not coming back. She asked why. I told her the truth. You protected someone for years. You ignored complaints. You let someone use my name to break into client branches. You didn't take action until I got a lawyer. You don't get to fix that with an apology. Then I hung up. I didn't go back to the company. But I didn't just walk away either. Instead, with Danielle's help, I drafted a letter. A professional, cold, documented breakdown of everything that had happened, names, dates, actions. I didn't embellish. I didn't threaten. I just told the truth. Then I sent that letter to the CTO, the board of directors, their top 3 enterprise clients, and the local business journal in Austin that covers tech startups. Within a week, things exploded. The CTO stepped down. Alex resigned. The company posted a job listing for an entirely new engineering manager role, with language focused on compliance, code integrity, and internal audits. And Marcus? I found out from Chloe he tried applying for a dev position at her new company. She flagged his name. He didn't even make it past the recruiter. It's been a little over a year since I sent that final letter. I wish I could say I moved on right after. I didn't. What Marcus did, what the company allowed him to do, it stayed with me for a long time. It still does some days. But the truth is, they didn't just get exposed, they got wrecked. Let me start with Marcus. After his account was suspended and the internal investigation started, he tried to spin everything. Told people he was the victim of office politics. That I was some attention-hungry junior who wanted to take him down. It didn't work. Because once Chloe came forward, 2 more former coworkers messaged me. Both women, both from different companies, saying Marcus had done the same thing to them. One even had screenshots of Slack messages where he bragged about ghostwriting code for weak team members who couldn't handle enterprise logic. Danielle helped each of them draft their own statements. All of it went into the file. When Marcus realized people were talking, he panicked. Tried to delete old tweets, shut down his GitHub page, even started a Medium blog about toxic cancel culture in tech. He claimed he was being persecuted by jealous female devs. The blog lasted 3 weeks before it was taken down for harassment reports. Then the real fallout started. I got a call from Danielle one morning. She sounded calm but serious. It's over. We got word from an old client of the company. Their in-house audit team found licensing violations tied to Marcus's commits. The company admitted fault and is quietly settling with the software foundation. Marcus was named directly in the documents. Once legal liability hit the company, they had no reason to protect him anymore. Word got out. Fast. In our local Austin tech circle, reputations don't die quietly. They explode. People started sharing stories. Devs he bullied. Interns he screamed at. A guy from support even posted screenshots of a Slack DM where Marcus told him to shut up and close the ticket because QA doesn't matter. I heard from someone inside the company that they were blacklisted from at least 2 major client pipelines. Revenue dropped 17% in 1 quarter. Their engineering leadership was gutted. They brought in outside consultants to rebuild team trust. But the damage was done. As for Marcus, he disappeared, deleted his social media, changed his LinkedIn name, tried freelancing under an alias, but tech is small and people talk. Recruiters caught on. His references were poison. Then one day, I got a message from an unlisted number. Just a few words. You ruined my life. No name, no details, but I knew who it was. I didn't reply. I forwarded it to Danielle and blocked the number. But that wasn't the worst of it. Part 14, Karma at Home. 2 months after that message, I got an email from Leslie. Again, Marcus's wife. It was short, cold, but different from before. You probably don't care, but I left him. I found emails. Saw the fake accounts. I had no idea how deep it went. He lied about everything. Not just work. Everything. I sat there staring at the screen. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She didn't apologize for blaming me before. She just let me know. Then she added one more line. Our son doesn't want to see him anymore. He asked me if Dad was a criminal. I didn't know what to say. That hit me harder than anything else. This wasn't just about a bug report, or a codebase, or even a job. Marcus destroyed his own family. Not because I exposed him, but because he couldn't stop lying. Couldn't stop manipulating. Couldn't stop using people and stepping on them. He stepped on me, and I made sure he fell. Part 15. Where I am now, I took 6 months off. Got a therapist. Stayed offline. I had nightmares at first. Dreams where I was still in those meetings, still watching him pass off his work to me, still reading those Slack messages where he laughed behind my back. But slowly they faded. I rebuilt my resume. Joined a startup in Portland. Fully remote. Small team. Ethical people. The CTO is a woman. The code reviews are clean. The team is kind. Sometimes I still feel paranoid, double-checking permissions, watching for red flags. But that's okay. I'd rather be cautious than quiet. A few months ago, Chloe and I met in person. She flew to Portland. We got coffee. We laughed harder than I thought we could. She said, I wish I'd done what you did. I told her, you did. You helped me finish it. Because the truth is, I couldn't have taken Marcus down alone. It took all of us, every dev he manipulated, every bug he ignored, every lie he told, to finally catch up to him. He thought he could just float above it all. But eventually, you drown in the mess you make.